business taxes. Was stressing about all the time and all the money you spent on your taxes.
This is my bill?
Now Business Taxes is a TurboTax small business expert who does your taxes for you and offers year-round advice at no additional cost, so you can keep more money in your business. Now this is taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com/business. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America, Sack Heads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sack Head Sean and Sack Head Clint. And we're working on the immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here, too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best in late-night conservative talk, Sack Heads Radio.
Sack News. Sack News.
Radio.
Sack News. Sack News.
Radio.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America. In America.
In America.
And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen. Is this thing on?
It's every week.
What's every week?
It never ends with
I
you.
cannot wait until our show gets started tonight. What do we have? It looks like we have about 3 minutes before we start. Because I didn't see Soko do a countdown or anything like that.
He didn't count us in.
Oh, wait, what's he doing? He's like, I think he's telling me to steal third.
I
Didn't pitchers and catchers start? Is that what this is?
He did tell you to steal third. No, that's
Was
I
it
saw
steal
it.
third or was it steal second? Because I'm so confused right now. Happy Wednesday, February 19th, Sackhead. This is Sackhead Clint, across from me.
Sackhead Sean, thank
and
you
across
for joining
from
us.
in the Central Command is Soko.
Who's a little under the weather, it seems, this evening.
He has no voice to defend himself tonight.
Which is even
perfect,
better for us.
Which
Right.
is perfect for us.
Seeing how brutal we are on a regular basis.
And what's great is he's got his mouth full of pizza right now.
I hate you
So-
guys.
I'm sorry, did you say something, Soko? No, go ahead, speak up. Use your big boy voice.
Come on.
I will destroy you.
Soko, speak up.
Come on. I hate you. I hate you, he says. Oh, only here on the Sack Heads Radio
We're
show.
coming live from the shop, the Sack Heads Operations Center. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing very well. How has your week been?
It's going well. You know, it's following the Olympics. I'm pretty psyched about the Americans in hockey doing a great job.
And what's even the best part about all that is the Russian head coach was a player in the 1980s team when the Americans beat them and ended up winning the gold medal, if you recall.
Really?
Yeah, the movie Miracle Disney made
right.
was based on the 1980 United States hockey team. And no, you didn't. And the Russian coach this year was on that 1980s Russian team. And so I'm happy that he got to relive a moment from his youth.
Yeah.
When we beat him again this year.
Yeah, I'm sure he's just thrilled by that right now.
Yeah, a lot of people, they don't get the opportunity to go back and relive a moment like that.
Well, I just want to know how he's going to make Putin disappear. Or Putin's going to make him disappear. I want to know how that's going to work itself out.
I'm pretty sure it'll work itself out, no problem. And what the Russian figure skater, the male, who is the reason that the Russians got the gold medal in the team skate.
Right.
He injured himself, and so he was unable to compete in the individuals. And like the Russians just went nuts. Like even Russian government officials were calling him all kind of different names, and just poor guy.
Well, why would they do that?
Why would he quit?
No, why would they be mean to him like that?
Because they're communists. What do you mean?
Good point.
Thanks. That's a no-brainer.
Speaking of communists.
Yes.
Oh, no, wait. We already talked about Russia. All right, I got nothing.
You got nothing? Oh, I thought you were going to bring up something about Obama.
Hey, bottom of the hour. This is awesome. TAMI J is joining us to talk about, she released the third part of her series, the 47 Bodies Left in the Wake of Hillary Clinton on the Black Sphere. So she'll be joining us in about 25 minutes. That'd be pretty cool.
Because we love TAMI.
We do love TAMI.
I thought you were going to talk about, speaking of communists, I thought you were going to speak about the Providence College. Their Black Studies program has a new award. Have you heard about this?
I have not heard about this.
It's the Trayvon Martin Award for Social Justice. I wish we had a live webcam right now because the look on your face, I like throwing little things like this out at you right off the bat when you're not expecting it because the look on your face was priceless.
Why?
Look, this is an award that goes to people who have shown leadership to, quote, challenging and eliminating racism.
Really?
And empowering others to seek social justice. That's a quote. That was an email from the college obtained by the Daily Caller. And it just sounds like such a wonderful award. You know what's great is we have colleges naming awards after individuals who were shot and killed in self-defense. There was a whole trial. Our legal system was in play.
Yeah, but we all know that
George Zimmerman was found innocent, and we know Trayvon Martin was far from just an innocent little victim.
Right.
Like he's been painted in some circles. And now they have an award in his honor. You know, the only thing I can really think that this place just went crazy is if Hollywood were going to be making a movie about Cesar Chavez.
Well, I think that it's, it's going crazy. I got bad news for you.
What?
I'm pretty sure they are.
Yeah, but it doesn't have any, like, big-name actors. It's not going to be in, like, a...
Oh, it's not mainstream?
Yeah, it's not mainstream, is it?
I believe it is.
Yeah, but they wouldn't portray him as, like... Because he was a communist.
Right.
And we don't celebrate communists.
Well, in California, we do. Well, not we, but the state does. It has Cesar Chavez Day. There's actually a bunch of streets named after him. He's apparently a big deal out here. I honestly, when I first moved out here, true story, somebody said that to me real quick. Hey, do you have to work Cesar Chavez Day? I'd never heard of him before I moved out to California.
Right.
I honestly thought they said Caesar Salad Day. And I was like, you guys have a whole day for Caesar salads? That's insanity. And they were like, oh, it's Cesar Chavez. And I was like, yeah, that means, I don't know. We have Patriots Day in Massachusetts, where I'm from.
But why would you have that? That's a hateful day. You can't.
And it's not even the New England Patriots Day.
If you have Patriots Day, does that mean the entire city of Boston, the entire state of Massachusetts is on a watch list?
Yeah, for the day.
Just for the day.
We also, we don't, but Suffolk County in Boston, they have Evacuation Day, which is the day that the British invaded Boston and everyone evacuated out. You actually get a day off of that.
Well, why wouldn't you?
So, I mean, we have our holidays too. It's a little bit different, I guess.
That makes sense.
Well, I'm glad something does. Isn't that just bizarre, though, that we have a Cesar Chavez Day in California? Like, don't understand. Like you said, he was a communist. He was a little bit of a rabble-rouser, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
I understand that he was a figurehead for the. You okay over there?
What?
I understand he was a figurehead for the farmer movement, and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a lot of other people.
He brought awareness to his cause. Look, he really did care about the worker and the migrant farm worker and so forth, and brought awareness to some of their conditions. Which
right.
I'm not saying he did not accomplish some good things.
Right.
However,
he was a communist.
He was a communist.
That's kind of a big one.
And another big one is some of the people he was fighting for were here violation of United States law.
Yeah, but, it's right in their name, migrant workers.
Right. I forgot about that.
So that's good. I'm glad, I'm glad we're covering all the important stuff in Hollywood. I'm glad.
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds. Recently, I asked Mint Mobile's legal team if big wireless companies are allowed to raise prices due to inflation. They said yes. And then when I asked if raising prices technically violates those onerous two-year contracts, they said, what the f*** are you talking about, you insane Hollywood ass f- So to recap, we're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
Hardy Fiber Cement Siding is proven to withstand water, pests, and fire better than wood-based siding. And it looks better while doing it. Hardy Siding has been chosen for 10 million homes and counting. See the proof at jameshardy.com.
Cesar Chavez gets a movie. How about a movie about Benghazi?
Now, you know what? Hang on. I really like the fact that you said migrant. It's in their name, so why wouldn't they be here? Because it reminds me of the story. So I ran into, I was out and I see this police officer, and he's dressed in camouflage. And I said, "Hi, how are you? How you doing? I like your outfit." They don't like it when you call it an outfit. Apparently,
I like your knickers.
Yeah, I like your knickers. Those are sweet. Those are BDUs, or I don't even know what the hell he said.
Did you ever see Dumb and Dumber?
Yeah.
Killer boots, man.
I like your outfit. He goes, "It's a uniform."
You're like, get up.
Yeah, never seen a cop in camouflage. And he says, "Yeah, I'm SWAT." Oh, Special Weapons and Tactics Special. It's in the name.
You're like, yeah, I saw the movie and the TV show in the 70s. Hut.
Those uniforms are better. There's a glazed old-fashioned right there for you.
Really?
Yeah, no, I bought it for you. I brought it in. I didn't know if you saw it.
Thank you very much. I enjoy a good old-fashioned donut.
I actually found out where that stereotype came from. Cops and donuts.
Where?
So apparently, way back in the long time ago in the 80s, the only place open at night for cops to sit and like do paperwork or whatever was donut shops.
Uh-huh.
So they would go to donut shops because they were the only place open and drink coffee and write their reports or do whatever paperwork they're going to do or just relax. That's where that comes from.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't believe that. I know where Patty Wagon comes from because I'm from the Northeast.
And because you're a Patty.
Because I'm a Patty. So I don't have... You all right, Soko? Soko, you're making noises in our head again. I don't have all the
underwear
details,
on right now?
And I do want to look into it for the show, but Flycatch brought up a good point in the chat room that the FCC proposed new ruling for them to broadcast new broadcast in real time or a new broadcast in real time. I have briefly looked into that. I didn't get it ready for tonight's show. I don't want to give out bad information, and I don't want to have that's one of those things I really want to read through the entire proposal by them before I start commenting on it.
Is that the Federal Communist Commission? That was one of them.
No, I think
it makes sense. It's something he would create, right? The Federal Communist Commission. How can we best celebrate communism? Because they're our friends and our allies. Social justice, it's power of the people, right?
It's a social justice show. Hey, speaking of not social justice, but old communist countries, do you follow any of what's going on in the Ukraine?
No, other than the fact that it's on fire right now. Literally.
Yeah.
Quite literally. It's
if you pull up
fire.
There's a feed coming out of a news site called Espresso or Penco, or I think it's state agency.
Look, it's not burning right now. Obama just said it. There's a truce.
Oh yeah, there's a truce?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm looking at the live feed right now.
No, it can't be on fire anymore. Obama said there's a truce.
It is certainly on fire as we speak. I'm watching a feed out of Kyiv, and I'll tell you.
Yeah, it can't be. Obama said, quote, he hopes the truce provides space for the sides to resolve their disagreements peacefully. The fire's out, brother. You must be watching old video. It must be time delayed.
No, it says live.
Live, but back on the East Coast.
The long and short is, and the president of the Ukraine announced today, I don't know if he's the president, the czar, the whatever.
Just call him today Supreme Ruler.
Their truce talks, or they have a truce going with the opposition. The opposition's upset because they wanted to join the European Union for trade. The opposition being the people versus the government, and they get called the opposition, which I think is kind of funny. But they wanted to join the European Union and expand trade, boost their economy, have better opportunity. And the Ukrainian president at the last minute pulled out, and from what I understand, it's to be in favor of trading with Russia instead. And because that's a brilliant idea. That's never gone wrong before. And the people, when I say revolted, I think that's probably the most accurate word I can use. The entire downtown area of Kyiv, which is the capital of the Ukraine, they have walls. The opposition or the citizens have a wall of fire going in order to keep the government troops from cracking down on them. Because when they cracked down the other day, a lot of people got hurt, and apparently the government was pretty ruthless, which is weird. You'd never think that a government of total control would do something like that. But they beat them pretty nonstop. So it's just amazing. And, I tweeted something out yesterday when I really got caught up on this. I watched it a little bit, but I said, I wonder if anyone in our government is watching TV right now and getting nervous. Or even like looking at them like, ooh, I don't want them to get ideas. So if we could not play this in our country right now, that would be great. Because I wouldn't want people to get upset and then think that they have the right to speak out against the government that they don't agree with.
Well, no, because he has a group of civilians that are just as well trained, just as well armed, just as well equipped as the United States military to deal with that. And a stockpile of ammunition. He said it, not me.
Hey, it's funny. We mentioned the whole 9 yards earlier, I think, and I did not know this. Do you know where that? I thought one of us said it, but do you know where that?
That was pre-production.
Oh, either way. Do you know where that term comes from?
No.
Our good friend Flycatch in the chat room said the whole 9 yards. A belt of Browning machine gun ammunition was 9 yards in length. So when people say the whole 9 yards, it means they use the entire belt of ammunition. So if I say, Sean, if you look at me again, I'm going to go the whole 9 yards. Exactly.
That would make perfect sense.
I would ask if I could borrow it first. Because the BAR was pretty awesome. But so
listen, I have 18 yards, and I'm going to give you 9 of those yards.
Thanks. Thank you very much. So I just thought that was interesting. It's something to watch.
Excuse me, hang on. Hi, Mary.
Clint's saying hi to everyone in the chat room. He thinks
I just said hi to Mary because she gives me the little smiley face and the googly eyes.
And she actually says hi to you.
She says hi to me specifically.
Wow.
Which I appreciate.
I think that's wonderful.
You don't have to roll your eyes. I actually love our listeners.
I absolutely love our listeners.
And then talk down to them.
Wait, what?
Wait.
Hey, I saw an interesting story today, and I'm going to try to pull it up real quick.
We were all over the place. I thought we were talking about Russia burning.
Or
the Ukraine burning.
It was the Ukraine, but there really wasn't much more to say about that.
Well, Putin's policies were kind of center stage for this whole thing.
Well, they were.
That's a little important.
Yeah, but if anyone, at this point, if any of our listeners need explaining on how screwed up dealing with Putin is, I don't know if we could cover it all in one show tonight. Like, I don't know if we could actually get them caught up
on it, right?
Okay, fine. Go ahead.
Okay, so perfect photo op for Putin. You ready?
Okay.
Putin stands. Now, just hear me out on this. Putin stands in front of the wall of fire, separating the troops. Right? He's bare-chested,
as he should be,
but in fireman turnouts. Just the pants, suspenders over his shoulder, hands on his hips. You ready for this? He's drinking a Coca-Cola. Now, hear me out on this.
I'm hearing you.
An airplane comes overhead, douses water, puts out the flames. Putin is drenched. He drops his Coke. It spills. The plane's flying off, trailing a Pepsi banner and an American flag. Wow.
Well, and let's look at this, because everyone keeps trying, especially our government, keeps trying to hail Russia.
What you're hearing is Hardie Fiber Cement Siding living up to its reputation as the siding that helps resist weather damage, no matter what Mother Nature throws its way. James Hardie knows how important a reputation is, especially when you're a home builder. That's why Hardie products withstand the elements better than wood-based siding, with styles to match their strength. Because when home builders work with us, we deliver our best so they can look their best. Protect your reputation with exterior products by James Hardie.
As these wonderful, we got to be nice with them. We got to trade with them. We got to get along with them, because it's, again, that whole mentality of we have to get along with everyone. Look at Syria. We have.
Hang on, I'm consulting the map that's currently up in the Situation Room behind me.
We know where Syria is. We talked about it the other day. But Syria, Russia brokered that whole chemical weapons deal in Syria, right?
Right.
Just like they're helping with Iran and North Korea and all this other stuff.
They're big helpers.
And as of late, it looks more and more like Syria is not relinquishing their chemical weapons in the manner that they said they were.
Yep, nobody saw that coming.
Exactly. And Russia isn't really putting any sort of pressure on them. I know they're hosting a party right now.
Nobody saw that coming.
Maybe
either.
When the party's over, they'll deal with the
of course
the belligerent children. But is it a shock at this point? I mean, I know it's not to me, and maybe I'm crazy. Is it a shock to anyone when Russia says they're going to do something and they don't do it?
Well, it's not a shock to you because you are, in fact, crazy because you're a right-wing extremist. Now.
But why do we keep doing this? Why do we keep going down this road?
Because Obama believes that he believes in a global governance. He does. He believes in a world government and a world global cooperation as opposed to American exceptionalism. So he gives a lot of power and yields a lot of the United States power and influence so that other countries can exert influence and so forth, and we come together as a global unit to solve problems as opposed to, in his opinion, imperialistic United States.
I love how we're oppressive. To this day,
imposing their will. No, but you asked a question, I'm answering it, but that is, I believe, this president's view of the world situation, and his policies and his actions really support that analysis.
Mm-hmm.
So, look, as a direct result of this administration's policies, our country has lost a lot of influence.
A ton of influence.
And we've not only lost a lot of influence,
and respect,
but we have given, and friends, we have given a lot of that influence and subsequent power over to really our enemies. Russia being one, Iran being another. A lot of this power and influence is being ceded to those countries. And look, we have China, and we'll talk more about this in a little bit because I don't think we have time to get to it right now. China is preparing for a very short-action war with Japan. Look, do you think if Reagan were around, or
any of this would happen,
or even George W. Bush, do you think China would dare do anything like this, or that Iran or some of these other groups would have these policies in place, or really be spitting in the eye of the United States? I mean, who's Japan's biggest ally?
Us.
Yeah, it's us.
Which is still weird to me, considering that we dropped 2 bombs on them.
Well,
not that long ago, really, in the great scheme of things. But
it's like two guys in a bar fight, right? You land a couple of good haymakers to help the guy up off the floor, dust him off, buy him a beer, and you're drinking buddies. Same kind of thing.
Except we dropped atom bombs on him. Yeah, it's like a haymaker. It's like the ultimate haymaker, if you will.
Right. And they appreciate the Japanese culture has typically always appreciated the warrior spirit. So, hey, you kicked our butts.
Well,
okay, we like you.
We're going to look at it however we possibly can. But, yeah, no. If this had happened when Reagan was in office, either one of the Bushes, maybe Clinton, a little bit. And only because
not to this extent. I mean, look,
not to this extent.
Clinton let...
No. I'm saying this would not be happening.
Right. I don't believe this would happen under Clinton.
I don't think so.
I really don't. Clinton had a chance to get Osama bin Laden, and he failed to act timely.
Right.
On that, and I know there were some other issues in some books that came out about his foreign policy or whatnot, but Clinton was not this weak, and after he had some issues during the first couple of years of his presidency, and I know Dick Morris went in to work with his administration, he really moved to the center, and he got things accomplished. He really did, and he worked the other party. But I disagree with Clinton on certain things, obviously, but he's ultra conservative compared to this president.
Yeah, no, it's listen. I mean, we can sit here and beat the dead horse repeatedly, but this specific president is beyond anything we've seen before, and it's getting worse. And for China to start practicing for a war against a close ally of ours, a short strike, quick war, is a horrific sign for how the world is viewing us. I mean, look at Iran has no respect for us. Syria has no respect for us. North Korea has no. They're not even afraid of us anymore. They used to at least be afraid of us, which, you right, wrong, or indifferent, it kind of kept them in line. And if we said, hey, leave them alone, it happened. But it never got to the point that we had to. This guy, his foreign policy.
They were scared of us after when Reagan came along.
Oh, yeah.
They were not afraid of us during the Carter.
No, not during Carter, but Kennedy, till Carter, they kind of were, because Kennedy didn't take any crap. And before that, obviously, everyone knew. But, I just think it's absolutely amazing that these countries are starting to kind of posture a little bit more, push a little bit more. It's funny because it's not like our military is all of a sudden awful and terrible and unable to do anything right. It's still the United States military. It's still the strongest military in the world. Best trained troops, the absolute best troops on the face of the planet. Guys that fight and gals that fight because they want to, not because they have to. They're filled with heart and spirit. And these countries are now starting to just poke and prod and see what they can get away with. And it just continues on and on. And it's sad. It really is sad.
You know what I find sad? Obama has more of an iron fist policy here at home.
Absolutely.
Towards the other branches of government.
Yeah.
And towards the citizens of this country than he does towards foreign governments or to foreign citizens who are here in violation of our laws. That's what I find scary. I find that scarier than even our influence in other parts of the globe.
Well, but it's a totality thing, and that's the issue. If North Korea was the only ones being belligerent in any way, shape, or form and making these threats that are off the wall, whatever, all right, it's North Korea. They've been doing it for years, and we know how they operate. We know that they're just a bunch of blowhards over there. But when you have other countries start doing it, then it becomes an issue. And it shows overall. And that's what I mean. It's the total. It's not these little individual things. It's like this president as a whole, even on domestic policy. You don't look at the individual per se. They become part of the equation, but it's the totality. It's not that one executive action.
Of course.
But it's all of them together.
Absolutely.
And I think that's one of the things that people miss.
It paints a picture.
It does.
Right? Because you get one thing and then, it's dismissed as whatever. You get other thing, it's dismissed as, well, the Republicans aren't doing it. Well, the House isn't doing it. Well, we don't really want to go to war with Iran, so we need to cede some things to them. Well, yeah, Russia can do the thing with Syria. And, well, Homeland Security, they're not really harboring armored vehicles and lots of ammunition. And what, Viper teams? No, why wouldn't TSA be on trains and have armed law enforcement response there? And it's one thing after another. Oh, the president doesn't need Congress, and now you have some Democrat in the House saying, yeah, we encourage you to go around Congress.
Yeah, and then you have Holder.
I'm almost at a loss. Then
you have Holder, and there's a great piece on Breitbart in a video from the whole 11-minute video between Mike Lee and Holder. Holder can't even explain some of the executive actions, why they're legal and how. He's
because
at a loss.
It's not.
I know.
Because it's not.
You would think that's like a pre-practiced response, at least a line of BS.
But how can
and he stuttered and stammered through, which is just stunning to me.
It is so blatantly illegal.
Well, yeah.
And the fact that they don't care.
No.
They don't care, and that is why, look, I understand that impeachment is really saved for some extreme circumstances.
It's time to get to that point, though,
typically. But look, you had Clinton, who was impeached over lying about a blowjob. You had Nixon, who wasn't impeached, but he was resigned over a burglary. And you have a president now who's really seizing power in a way, kind of gathering a lot of power into one branch, the executive, and sidestepping, going around through Congress, trampling the Constitution and failing to uphold the laws, to faithfully execute the laws of this country. I think that you have some serious issues there. I mean, those to me are serious charges. If you have an executive that's garnering so much power, and it's in clear direct violation of our Constitution, it's a clear overreach, and it really is tyranny. And you start looking at now, some people roll their eyes when you throw that term out, but look at what it means. You have one person who's garnering this much power. We fought a war over this. And the encroachments that we're seeing, in some cases, are worse than some of the ones that were seen during the time of the American Revolution, the American quest for independence.
Yeah. No, I agree.
So how?
I wish I could rebut or add something that you
I don't think
but
you
I can't.
I'm just I think I think we are at a point where you have impeachable offenses against this president. I think he is in clear violation. I think there is a danger of us really kind of going down the road of a dictatorship. And again, some people roll their eyes, but look at how other people throughout history have seized power away from a duly elected body of government. And I mean, you can point to ancient Rome. You can point to the Third Reich. And again, I'm not saying that anybody's going to that Obama's going to round people up and put them in gas chambers or anything like that. But I'm talking about just how power was seized and put into a central form of government or a central person. Really, in our case, it would be an executive, and how the written word of law was really overcome and rewritten, reworked. I mean, it's happened before. Are we really so naive to think that it can't happen here? And
there are some that are that naive.
They are, but and a lot of people are. But it'll never happen here. But I submit that you look at how much power has been garnered, and how it's been garnered, and how that power has been wielded. And while it hasn't happened yet, we're in danger. I mean, we really are. Not to sound melodramatic, but we're in danger. How much of our freedom and our individual liberties are we willing to give up for the sake of the illusion of security? How secure are you really if a president can issue an executive order overriding a particular constitutional requirement or overriding a law that Congress passed?
That's the thing. Just to be able to, or just not do anything at all. Just say, hey, I don't want this done at all. Hey, we're up against a break because Soko's throwing stuff at us, and we went a couple minutes over.
Soko,
I
seriously?
apologize. Mary brought up a good
we
point.
Weren't talking about something important.
A good point before we go to break is Mary just said, on top of tyranny.
Break.
Thanks, Soko. We also have a do-nothing Congress to go with it. So, and it's true. That combination has been just absolutely brutal for this country. 347-205-9399 is our phone number. We're going to take a break. TAMI J should be calling in any time now here on the Sack Heads Radio Show. We are absolutely excited about that. We'll be back in 3.
Hey, if you care about what's going on in the world, you cannot afford to miss my show. Hi, this is Andrea Kaye, your host of The Andrea Kaye Show. It's not always about the money. Okay, it is always about the money, but it's also about politics, pop culture, and you. The only thing street about this show is the smarts. There's a reason they call me Dynamite in a Dress, and you'll find out why when you listen Tuesday mornings at 10 on Financial News and Talk.
Hello, I'm Paul, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is my professor, Dr. Larry Arnn, on the separation of church and state.
America's founders believed in the separation of church and state, in that the country was not to have an official religion or an official sect. But that did not mean that government was to be hostile to religion, or even indifferent to religion, as many today argue. In fact, America's founding document, the Declaration of Independence, includes both a reference to God as the author of the laws of nature and a confident assertion that human beings are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Far from being hostile or indifferent to religion, America's founders understood the theology of the Declaration to be an essential part of the education of citizens.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.org.
How you doing? John Grant here. When I'm not slaving over a hot microphone on the 405radio.com Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, I check out Sean and Clint here at Sack Heads Radio. We all appreciate the best political bloggers, writers, and commentators. We either get them on our shows or we make fun of them, as it should be. So check us out live Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern or forever on the podcasts on the 405radio.com.
Hey folks, it's Sean from Sack Heads Radio. As a native Bostonian, my heart broke on April 15, 2013, watching those horrendous attacks at the Boston Marathon. Now there's a way that you can help. Go to onefundboston.org, onefundboston.org, where you can donate to help the victims and families from this awful attack. Onefundboston.org, all the proceeds will go directly to the victim's family. Thank you very much from Sack Heads Radio.
Now back to Clint and Sean on Sack Heads Radio, radiating elegancy and quality.
Hey, we're back here on the Sack Heads Radio Show, 347-205-9399. We are waiting for our good friend TAMI J to call in. Soko, if you could fix your messes, that would be great. I'm just saying, you kind of created this problem, Do
we have a problem?
Well, yeah.
Is this thing on?
Welcome back.
Did you mute my microphone again?
Oh. Hey, Soko.
Is that an alien spaceship?
Soko, can you look at me, please? And hopefully this works. Hey, it's Tammy. How are you? We are here. Unfortunately, you're not there for some reason. Soko's working on the finalized sound engineering on this, but you're not carrying over. So can we call you back in a minute? Okay, thank you.
Is this because we moved?
It is because we're moved. It's all jacked up, but we'll get to the bottom of it.
You mean Soko'd up? I don't even. We fired Jack, if you remember, because Soko's resume was so much better.
One of the most. What a terrible idea to fire Jack. Thank you, Soko. It's great when your guest for the night, the person that you pushed, he can't even make that work. So, hey, there was another article while we're trying to figure this out that popped up to me today, and I just kind of want to talk about it real brief, is that the two Americans that were the former Navy SEALs were found dead on the Mearsk, Alabama.
Yes, the ship from Captain Phillips. The Somali Pirates ordeal.
Yeah, and not much information's coming out. They weren't on duty. They weren't under attack. But it's just really bizarre. The two former Navy SEALs, and I hope it wasn't something,
And the circumstances weren't very clear.
Right. That's the thing, that nobody's giving any information at all. It wasn't like, hey, unfortunately it was a carbon monoxide poisoning or something like that, where you're like, oh, it's obviously a tremendous tragedy, but okay, it's understandable. This can happen anywhere. This was just complete, hey, yeah, two Navy SEALs passed, and we're not telling you why.
Yeah, not, hey, they were found with gunshot wounds, not, hey, they were ambushed. I mean, nothing. There's
that boat is bad news.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm just spitballing here.
Okay.
When was the last time anybody has seen the Flying Dutchman? Look, I'm not saying that this ship is the Flying Dutchman. I'm just saying that the Flying Dutchman and this ship have never been seen together.
Yeah, no, you're right. I'm not saying you're wrong. You're 100% right. Those two have never been seen in the same place.
Okay.
But it's just a tragedy. And especially they're there. I think they're with a company called Trident, and they're essentially, I think that's a government-run company or a government publicized.
It's a contract company.
Yeah, government contracting company, and they're providing security to these ships. So, it really is sad. and I hope they give us a little bit more information about that because it's going to be interesting to see what exactly happened.
So, look, we talked briefly about China and the fact that they've been practicing for a war with Japan. There's a U.S. Navy intelligence analyst that told some colleagues that the China's People's Liberation Army, the PLA, that they've been conducting these training exercises incorporating a scenario in which China's military takes over the Senkaku Islands, near which are located near Taiwan. And there's a Captain James, I believe it's Fannell, it's pronounced, Deputy Chief of Staff Intelligence and Information Operations for the U.S. Pacific Fleet, said that, quote, "We witnessed massive amphibious and cross-military region enterprise." Again, quote, "We concluded that the PLA has been given the new task to be able to conduct a short, sharp war to destroy Japanese forces in the East China Sea, followed with what can be expected seizure of the Senkaku or even a southern Ryukyu Island," at least some of their academics say. So, again, I saw this article, and FoxNews.com has had a really good version of the article, and they had some of these quotes from Captain Fannell. And it's really scary. I know we touched on it earlier, but if you have China that's really practicing and undertaking a quote, short, sharp war with Japan, first of all, how do we stop that? Because, look, we have to be committed, right? If Japan's attacked and Japan goes to war and they lose these islands, the U.S. would have to get involved, correct?
Well, yeah, because that's, I mean...
They are a very close ally of ours.
Right. There's a reason why we're stationed in Okinawa and we have been for years. There's a reason why we have such close trade with them. They are a close ally.
Look, and how far is China willing to go? What are their? We know they have severe energy needs.
Yeah.
If they take those islands and they are occupying portions of Japan, why did the Japanese attack Pearl Harbor? Why did the Japanese draw the United States into the war?
So we would rebuild them?
Right, because they knew we were going to completely kick their ass. Look, Japan needed energy.
Right.
Japan needed energy, and the United States was embargoing them, and
they needed to end that.
They had policies in place that were really making it difficult for Japan to get the resources they need. So they felt they had no choice other than to attack the United States. Now, if portions of Japan are occupied by China, does China have the ability to reach the Hawaiian Islands and deal a critical blow to, look, almost like a Pearl Harbor 2, right?
Well,
because where would Japan's support be coming from? It'd be coming from Pearl. That's where a large portion of the Pacific. So Pearl, and you have some at I believe you have a carrier group in San Diego, right? So if China is able to take those islands in Japan, are they able, and I don't know their capability, are they able to reach out and touch the Hawaiian Islands to disable the U.S. fleet there to prohibit a U.S. response? I mean, well, we're drawn in, right?
Let's look at this, first of all. Let's say they do this quick strike on Japan, right? Mm-hmm. And that shows that they're really starting to press the waters, and they're really starting to press out. What's next? Are the Philippines next? Because they're right there. I don't know if they're going to try to jump the water that quick, but will they get a couple of key places where they're our allies? You know, they're going after our allies to test our response, and then if they get a foothold in both countries... I
don't think they're testing our response. I think these are the islands that have kind of been in dispute for a long time.
Right.
But the fact that they're recognized as part of Japan...
Oh, no, I understand, but I'm just saying, you know, you have to look at their game, you know, and where they're going to go and what they're trying to try to do. Or what if they say, oh yeah, by the way, we had the northern part of Japan back in 19 whatever or 18 whatever, and then so they're like, well, we have to try that too, and then let's get on to somebody brought up in the chat room, Taiwan. What if they really start getting that ball rolling? If they start doing kind of what Russia did, and all of a sudden they start taking all these islands that used to be involved in China or part of China natural to try to reclaim them and expand further and further and further. And then you start talking about their oil needs. I mean, let's say they're the biggest consumer of gasoline next to us. If not, I think they may have surpassed us in the world.
Well, China has spent over $1.5 million to improve certain facilities in the South China Sea. They've developed ports. They've had surveillance systems put into place, water purification systems. I think they put in some airfields. Why are they building that up? And look, the U.S. has been trying to strengthen our ties with China, right, including military ties with China.
Yes.
So does China think we're so weak that we're not going to provide any kind of counterattack, or do they believe we're more allies? They own X amount of our debt, so we're really not going to do anything. I don't know. Or, hey, you know what?
That's the thing.
If you do something, we have the ability to reach out and touch your Pacific Fleet as well. I don't know. But it's scary to me. And look, I understand that China is really kind of an up and coming global power, right?
Right.
They're like they're like they're the rookie.
They're not really even, but not anymore. They're actually a global power now. We've allowed them to become a global power over
right,
the
but
last
they're new. They're like new money.
Yeah, but
right?
they've always been big and had power. Now they're just global.
No, they've had local,
right,
but they have not had global power, right? So now they're like new money. They're like the kind of the rookie, right? Kind of feeling as though it's a little bit. And so is this I don't know. Is this just kind of a, hey, look what we are capable of, so don't mess with us? Is this legitimate plans? Because I know they've had war games against Taiwan in the past, and look, they've never invaded Taiwan. So now why the shift now from Taiwan to the Senkaku Islands, or both? And I know there have been incidents where there was an incident where a Chinese naval vessel locked its radar targeting system onto a Japanese warship.
Yep.
And there was obviously a big outcry from Japan, and rightfully so, on that. But a war with China scares me.
Well, it does, and I again, this isn't. I don't think that they would take us out handedly, but they have so many bodies.
No,
they have decent capability.
They do, and they have a huge population.
Right.
I don't think they would have us militarily. But I think we have Tammy.
I think we finally have Tammy. Tammy, I'm so sorry.
Tammy, look, I'm sorry we had to get to that story first before we were able to bring you in. But we appreciate you staying on hold for us while we kind of talk business here, because there was absolutely nothing wrong. Everything is going exactly according to plan. We have complete control over everything, and so we thank you for bearing with us and holding out while we forced that breaking news in.
Thank you very much,
problem.
Tammy. You're a trooper, I'll tell you.
It's like, okay, if they really didn't want to talk to me, they could have told me. I would not have been mad.
No, are you kidding me?
You know, Tammy, and we were just literally having a tug of war, like two puppies on a chew toy, where Sean was saying, no, we have too much material, let's dump Tammy. And I was like, are you out of your mind? We love Tammy. And we were going back and forth while you were on hold.
I am not going to respond to this.
I just want you to know the truth, and I have video to prove it.
I'm not even going to respond to this, Tammy, because you know better. I would hope you know better. I pay you to know better.
I do. It's fun, though.
Why are you?
And poor
Soko
is all hoarse and everything.
Well, and he's trying to talk. I know, and we've been rough on him. It's funny. His voice was fine when he came to work today. But after we did the final touches on the studio and Clint and I yelled at him for about 2 hours straight.
And he was yelling at all the chords that he had mixed up. Which
so
a lot of the
what did you guys do
chords
to your
attached
studio?
the same way.
We ended up we moved studios, so we're in a new studio now.
We're actually in a government building because we figure that this is the last place they look for us. We're practically in the state capitol, which is awesome because they have no idea we're here.
So we had to move everything, and in doing that, we upgraded a few things and changed some things around. And we thought we got most of the kinks out of it. However, that didn't happen.
Apparently,
but the kink that allows you to talk to TAMI J wasn't fixed.
Well, for whatever reason, we thought the Skype, the way our setup is, so we can get people in on Skype as well as on the phone, is we had to jump a few things, and it didn't quite go the way we had planned, and that's why Soko's voice is like that. Is have you ever cried for a really long time, Sammy? And when after a while your throat just gets hoarse from crying and just being upset, that's what we did to him, and I apologize for that.
You guys are horrible.
No.
Hey, Soko, dry your eyes. Dry your eyes. Back away from the microphone. Nobody can hear you anyways.
It's all right, sobbing Sally. Don't worry about it.
Sobbing Soko.
He needs to call John Grant and have John Grant walk him through the Skype configuration.
And Soko, dry. It's okay for men to cry, Soko.
Well, Tammy, it's one of those things that we had. We had everything set up, and when we moved, we upgraded, and we just, you thought you worked out all the bugs, but not always. Clint's still here.
Yep, that's the way it goes. That's okay. You'll figure it out.
That hurts. He can fix that. Oh, I'm 1/3 owner with these other two guys. They can't.
You're
Dang
right.
It.
It'll just take a 2/3 vote, and right now Soko's mad at you. So, hey, the reason
we love Soko.
Tammy, the reason you grace us with your presence is you released part 3 today.
Finally,
on the Black Sphere,
finally.
The
Oh my goodness.
In the wake of Hillary Clinton, and we talked a little bit on Twitter earlier. If everyone hasn't checked it out, go to theblacksphere.net. It's right up there, and read the first 2 sections first, and then you get to the third. We start rolling through, and sadly, the first couple, Tammy, I was like, all right, well, unfortunately, it's not shocking. Like, it didn't shock me. There was no shock in all the first few.
No, it's just a person that died, and it's a little bit of a strange way they died, but, it's nothing that really grabs you.
Right. And it's, I don't know if it was, okay, well, this is just weird, or, okay, well, they knew the Clintons, and at this point, it kind of makes sense that they died early. But then...
then you get to page 7.
Yeah. Then you get to page 7. And page 7, and that's funny that you brought it up because I actually had it here on my notes. Kevin Ives and Don Henry. And I want you to tell this story yourself. People can read it. Please go to the website and read it. And make sure you know how awesome Tammy is. But kind of go into this a little bit for our listeners and see if you can explain it and what importance this has and why this is a big one.
Well, this is a really big one. Now, a couple pages prior to that, I have Barry Seal on there, and that's it. That's leads up to this because Barry Seal was somebody that there were reports that he worked for the CIA and did things for the government. He was known as a drug runner, and the drug running went in. It started in Louisiana, but then they changed it to an airport in Mena, Arkansas. And it was well known that drugs were being run in and out of there. Barry Seal supposedly ran billions of dollars of drugs in and out of the United States. We don't know what the relationship was to drug cartels, but we do know that it was happening there in Mena, Arizona. And the allegations are that the Clintons knew far well that this was going on. So you get to page 7, and there's Kevin Ives and Don Henry, and those names don't maybe sound like what people would think of as kids right away, but they were 2 nice, clean-cut teenagers. I believe they were 14 and 15. They went out for a night of deer hunting in a rural area of Saline County, Arkansas, and no big deal. In these rural areas, kids like that and their dads, kids by themselves, they go out hunting at night all the time. There used to be no danger whatsoever. It was a very wholesome thing to be doing. And they did not come home the next morning. Their bodies were found run over by a Union Pacific train on train tracks. Thus it became known as the Boys on the Tracks case, and it became very, very famous. What's interesting is that the Arkansas State Medical Examiner, the ME, said that they had fallen asleep. They probably had been smoking pot and were in a deep slumber, and the train ran over them. Well, their mother didn't buy that. I don't think she believed that they smoked pot or anything, and the idea that they could fall asleep on train tracks, that just makes no sense. I don't care. I've never tried smoking pot and then sleeping on train tracks, but it just sounds unbelievable. And so,
who can sleep through a Union Pacific train rumbling down the tracks?
Yeah.
I mean, that
let alone being on the track. I don't care what you've smoked. Yeah. Yeah, unless you've had an anesthesiologist attend you, I just don't think that's going to happen. And so this began to raise just a lot of questions with people, and a grand jury started investigating. They had the bodies exhumed, and then another autopsy said, no, wait a minute, Don Henry had been stabbed in the back and was dead when the train ran over him, and Kevin Ives had been beaten with a rifle butt, and the boys were most likely murdered in an area known as the drop zone for the drug smugglers. So they were murdered, left on the tracks. Yep. And Clinton brought in 2 pathologists to check out the ME's work, and they had the state crime lab, be there where the autopsies were being conducted. But when the grand jury wanted to subpoena those experts for testimony, Clinton refused it. And, there was a book that was written about the case, which is really interesting. I've only read some of it, but it was written by Mara Leverett, and everybody that read it said, oh, my goodness, this is like a John Grisham novel come to life. This is true facts. And she really investigated well and worked with Kevin Ives' mom, and very interesting book. The case became really, really well known and associated with the Clintons. And I say, the thing that really nags at me is why did Clinton refuse to allow the records from the crime lab and the ME, in the posthumous exam? Why did he refuse to release those records? That's pretty crazy. And then what's interesting is the following pages after the Boys on the Track case were a couple people that knew the boys. One of them was Keith Coney. He was a friend of the boys and supposedly was near when they were being attacked. He had told his mom, and so this came out in testimony. He was killed. He was on his motorcycle, and there was a high-speed chase, and he ended up running into the back of a truck. And then another fellow knew about what had happened and seemed to have some information, and he was talking around town that his life wasn't worth 2 cents, and the night that he said that and the night that he had said goodbye to all his family members, that night he was stabbed 113 times. So
holy moly.
Yeah, so it's just, and this is the kind of stuff that's in the Clintons' past, and some of it gets really close to them as we go through all these names of these bodies, and some of them, it just gives you a bad feeling, like, wait a minute, because you start seeing where, Bill and Hillary were in the background of these different things and how they were connected. And I mean, he was the governor of the state, and Arkansas is not like being there in New York City or someplace. It's a smaller, a lot of rural population. People know what's going on. They know everybody's business. Everybody knew what was going on at Mina. And, and these poor boys were murdered and had parents that never got answers. So that's just kind of reminds me of Benghazi, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, well, like everything else, if it doesn't meet the agenda, and part of the reason why that's important is you talk about Beal in that area, but the way those two are connected is there was a mechanic that was working on his car that found a check that was somehow related to Bill Clinton, and that never went anywhere, but that mechanic ended up perishing as well.
And, so it seems like anybody that knew anything is just gone. And I have to tell you guys, I have, I've received a lot of emails, and I've received emails from people that were in that area that knew people related to all these different deaths. And one gal checks in on me every so often. You okay? Nobody's coming to your door or checking on you or anything, are they? And she's worried about me. A couple other people that are law enforcement check in with me every so often to make sure I'm okay, which I'm fine. I figure, well, yeah, I'm packing heat and got a lot of friends that do and a lot of friends that are special forces, so I feel pretty good.
Well, and it's I joked with you from the very beginning, on and off the air, as soon as you released your first article, is that we have to watch your back. You just have to watch your back, because I hate to say it, but as well as I do that there's probably somebody wants to know who TAMI J is right now in a war room, so to speak.
Yeah, they're looking for a woman with a tiara and a flag. Which maybe it's a good thing I don't change that. Throw them off the track.
Please keep it the same way at all times. And also, if I were you, I'd go around dressed. Wear stilts under your clothes. Make yourself 6'3" when you go out in public. Just mess it up the best way you can.
Hide the blonde hair.
For our listeners, if you haven't read these articles yet, it was funny. I was talking to a Clinton supporter earlier today when you first put this out, and I said, my friend has an article, and my friend wrote an article about Clinton, and he just kind of rolled his eyes, and I said, well, let me give you a little history on it, and I started going through kind of piece by piece from the beginning, and at first I was like, the first couple ones you're like, all right, well, everything comes in threes. I mean, you hear that all the time when celebrities.
Yeah, and everybody knows someone that's had some kind of weird death.
And then as time has progressed, you can't have that many people close to you and on certain specific instances with you that all of a sudden start to perish at an alarming rate, and all within a short time period. I mean, I think
and a
overall,
lot of them in strange ways. Like how many airplanes really, really blow up and explode and then crash?
Was there and then how many times does the NTSB not release crash information?
Yeah, why do they not release records? Yeah, and
most of that is standard. Actually, most of that is standard what they release.
Entire reports of space shuttle disasters
you can find
were
online,
released
but these
for
specific
Challenger
ones
and Columbia, but you can't find for a little private plane that went down.
And as you say in your thing, in your article, you have to look at the totality. We talked about that earlier in the show, and this here too. We're not saying that they're specifically connected, but at some point, if you're a friend of the Clintons, and maybe now you may not want to be a friend of the Clintons anymore. I mean, I can tell you,
you may want to take a concealed
repeatedly around.
Yeah,
I'd separate.
You may want to take a concealed carry case, wear some Kevlar vest, and watch your back at all times. Have somebody watching your six, right?
Yeah, I would just move to a remote part of the country where I would hope that nobody at all would find me. Hey, Tammy, we're going to take a quick break. Will you stay with us when we get back?
Sure, I will.
All right. Here on the Sack Heads Radio Show, we are simulcast on speaker 347-205-9399. We take a quick one, and Tammy's going to join us on the other side. Stick around. Make it happen, Doc.
Hey, if you care about what's going on in the world, you cannot afford to miss my show. Hi, this is Andrea Kaye, your host of The Andrea Kaye Show. It's not always about the money. Okay, it is always about the money, but it's also about politics, pop culture, and you. The only thing street about this show is the smarts. There's a reason they call me Dynamite in a Dress, and you'll find out why when you listen Tuesday mornings at 10 on Financial News and Talk.
Hello, I'm Paul, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is my professor, Dr. Larry Arnn, on the separation of church and state.
America's founders believed in the separation of church and state, in that the country was not to have an official religion or an official sect. But that did not mean that government was to be hostile to religion, or even indifferent to religion, as many today argue. In fact, America's founding document, the Declaration of Independence, includes both a reference to God as the author of the laws of nature and a confident assertion that human beings are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Far from being hostile or indifferent to religion, America's founders understood the theology of the Declaration to be an essential part of the education of citizens.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.org.
How you doing? John Grant here. When I'm not slaving over a hot microphone on the 405radio.com Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, I check out Sean and Clint here at Sack Heads Radio. We all appreciate the best political bloggers, writers, and commentators. We either get them on our shows or we make fun of them, as it should be. So check us out live Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern or forever on the podcasts on the 405radio.com.
Hey folks, it's Sean from Sack Heads Radio. As a native Bostonian, my heart broke on April 15, 2013, watching those horrendous attacks at the Boston Marathon. Now there's a way that you can help. Go to onefundboston.org, onefundboston.org, where you can donate to help the victims and families from this awful attack. Onefundboston.org, all the proceeds will go directly to the victims' family. Thank you very much from Sack Heads Radio.
Now back to Clint and Sean on Sack Heads Radio, radiating elegancy and quality.
So we're back with TAMI J, and we're talking about the 47 bodies of Hillary Clinton, and her article on the blacksphere.net. And you know, we're talking about, Tammy, you with us? Oh, BTR, you and I are going to have some serious problems tonight. Tammy, I'm so sorry. If you're out there, please come back to us, because this is just frustrating me. I absolutely hate this. You can catch us live on Spreaker real soon, all the time. Then we'll BTR real soon here on Spreaker.
Hang on, I got something for BTR. So, that's for BTR. It's we may need some new machines here pretty quickly.
Yeah, well, no, BTR is going to need some new machines here really quickly. So her article is just incredible. And as you read through, and this is stuff, folks, that mainstream media won't even go near. And that's what's scary.
Okay, so you have two guys run over by a train.
Right.
And the cause of death was...
Yay!
Hi, Tammy. How are you?
Hi. So I could hear you guys
Hi.
the whole time. I don't know what you were doing.
You know what? Soko made kind of a joke at the break, and he said, "Listen, we're gonna mess with Tammy and all of our listeners, and we're just and really he was playing a joke on us for talking bad about him the whole time. So he says, I'm just gonna make you sound like complete buffoons by having so Tammy can hear you and think she's responding, but you guys are just gonna think that everything's gone down." And so,
now, Tammy, you don't have to go to these extremes.
You don't need to rack the
We'll
shotgun.
straighten them out. I understand.
But that was well played, Soko. Well played.
Hey, Soko, I accepted his Skype request, so I thought he was going to bring me on to Skype, but that didn't work.
I think this is his way of getting even. You know, I think if he figures one of the favorite guests one of our favorite people who's been a great friend of our show. I also know that I'm pretty sure Rooster's been on hold in the galaxy for a while now, and I think he's messing with him too. I'm afraid if Ken calls in, that Soko will hang up.
Yeah, but Soko will hang up on Ken just because Soko's a racist. But that's just a whole other story. And maybe, Tammy, I think Soko is messing with you because he hates women also. I apologize. He is. Listen, he's a walking EEO. Soko, nobody can hear you right now.
While my voice is
nobody can hear you.
Wow, I can hear you,
That's what
Soko.
you sound like right now. But she doesn't want to.
You know what? And here's the funniest part. We've said this before, and I'll say this again. If anyone who knows Soko is killing themselves laughing right now because he is the sweetest human being on the face. And that's not, I'm not trying to make up. That is the God's honest truth. He is one of the most sweet human beings on the face of the planet.
He really is.
The fact that he takes this from us is well beyond.
And what's hilarious is when he tries to talk into the microphone, he tries to fit the whole thing in his mouth. I don't know who taught him to talk that way.
He's still learning.
But yeah, we need a webcam in here because it's just poor Soko. They're like banging it on his forehead. It's kind of embarrassing a little bit.
So Tammy, we were talking about the article. At one point, we were talking about the article. I don't know if we're ever going to get back to the article, or if we're just going to.
Okay, what I want to know is really what is so suspicious about two young men who know the area very well, who just happen to take a nap at the same time on a railroad track and get hit by a train? I mean, honestly, what is so? I know a couple people that smoked
What's the big deal?
Right. I've known a couple people who've smoked some marijuana in their day. I don't know of anybody who has ever passed out that. But usually they wake up like hungry for a Twinkie.
Yeah, but not on railroad tracks.
Right, and both of them laying down on the railroad tracks.
Well, and we were talking at the break. Go ahead. All right, I'll go. We were talking at the break, and we were saying, it's kind of like the movie. They live in a small town. They know when that train comes through because I'm sure that whole town rumbles when that humongous Union Pacific train goes rolling through. And it's a lot like my cousin Vinny when the train wakes him up when he's in the hotel on the first night. He said, hey, I thought you said that train never comes through at 5:30 in the morning. And he says, it doesn't. Normally it comes through at 4:45. They know. When they went up to hunt, they know that train's coming. They probably wait for that train to come and go so it doesn't freak out the deer. Like, I'm sure they take that into account. So the fact that they were found on the train tracks initially run over both together.
That's speculation.
It is absolutely insanity.
Yeah, and they're two boys that have been raised in the area hunting. Well, everybody I know that has been raised, I mean, these kids start hunting when they're, I have a friend that was certified and could carry a weapon at age 5. A lot of these kids start when they're young. It's a way of life. They know the territory. They know how to hunt. They know how to deal with the guns. So I'm assuming that maybe some lefties are going to come in and say that we need to restrict trains because they're lethal.
Well, we do, and clearly they're lethal, and that's the problem. And I thought that's what this article was really bringing awareness about. Did I miss the whole point? Okay.
Yeah.
So
we need to especially prohibit them in schoolyards.
Right, absolutely. But why? What I'm curious about is why leave their bodies on a train track? And you would think that the velocity of a train would really do serious damage to a human body. Yep. But you have to take into consideration that perhaps the depending on where it was on the track, the engineer would see something on the tracks begin to slow. I mean, it's going to take miles potentially for a train to stop, but depending on the size of the train. But why not just disappear them? They were clearly overtaken, but why leave their bodies for anything to be found?
Yeah, this is just so bizarre to me, and I just can't imagine that any medical examiner. I just don't know medical examiners that would overlook something like the stabbing and being, the fact that they were dead before the train hit them would have been pretty obvious. So there's nothing of it passes a smell test. It just doesn't from beginning to end. And everything that I've heard about these two boys, and I want to read the whole book. I've read parts of it. But what I've heard about these two boys was they were not partiers. They were good kids. Their idea of fun was hunting deer, for pity's sake.
Yeah, and it's scary. And as you go further on down the list, it gets scarier and scarier. And then especially when you get to Keith McCaskill. And to me, that's the one that kind of sums the death of those two boys up.
Yep.
113 stab wounds, which, as you and a bunch of people in our chat room have said tonight, that's no suicide or accident. He said ahead of time that he knew he was going to die. If Jim Steed loses the election, the guy running for Saline County Sheriff, my life isn't worth 2 cents. And it'll be interesting to see how long Jim Steed lasted for. But, 113 times. That's either a crime of passion or a crime of total rage. Yeah, and
I'm thinking, well, okay, it's a message that's being sent. That's my thought. There was some rage there, but there also a message. And I do know that a lot of people I've heard from, one source that I have in the area has asked if I ever get to Arkansas or Missouri because they'd like to talk to me in person. Their phone has been tapped off and on over the years. And they said they don't trust the mail because they've received a lot of mail that's already been opened. And because these people knew several people on this big list, and so
and we know she likes to keep lists. That came out during the last election.
Yeah. So it's just very interesting. The things that I've heard of people that have, if they've even tried to go against them in any way, or if they might know about this, suddenly they are having the IRS investigate them. Even way back then, this kind of stuff was going on. So there was pressure brought to bear, and people learned to keep their mouth shut. So yeah, I've heard from a lot of people that are still a little bit frightened because they know things and they have been threatened a bit. So it's quite interesting.
Yeah, and it's going to see. I can't wait for the next portion of this. I really can't. I can't wait to see how you sum this up, because, like we've said before, you need to do a full-on book for this. This needs to get out there, and obviously, I mean, your Twitter followings and all your friends. We're trying to push the message out as much as we can and share it as often as possible.
Yeah.
But this is a story that cannot go away, and this is a story that cannot be ignored. I don't want to go over the top with making assumptions that she or he knew of this being done or were somehow involved, but it's hard to look away from it and say that there's no way that these 47 people died that were all somehow related to them and they didn't know. I mean, to me, it's just really hard to swallow that down.
Yeah, it seems as though you would either have to believe that the Clintons themselves were dangerous people to be around, or that the people that they employed were dangerous people to be around. I mean, either scenario is not good. So,
well, and I hate to say it, you look at the mob, and the mob boss very rarely goes out and pulls the trigger.
No, they have people working for them, their lieutenants and so forth, that know what needs to be done, and they get it done, and that's all the head guy cares about. Hillary, to my mind, and I've told a number of people this, that I believe that she and Bill have pretty much, their marriage is less a marriage and more a power pact. She is known by everybody. Every book I've ever read, the fellow that was a Secret Service guy, Gary, what's his name, in the White House, wrote about her. I read that book and I was just amazed. The egregious language she used on her Secret Service detail. There they are, ready to take a bullet for her, and she's telling them to get the F out of her way. And that was just on an average day. That wasn't even the bad stuff she said to them. But she is known as a real witch and vindictive and extremely intelligent. Bill is known as being smart enough, but he's got the charm offensive. On his own, he wouldn't get that far because he's a womanizer and he's, got his charm going on and he likes to party and have a good time. Hillary could not get that far on her own because she doesn't have any charm in her. So
right. It's almost like a match made in hell.
Yes, exactly. So between the two of them, she's got the brains and the plotting and the vindictiveness and the drive, and he's got the charm and the schmoozing and all that going on, and they get ahead and they get the power. There's no other way to explain somebody that would let a husband behave the way he behaved, or that, he'd take what she dishes out, which is just a lot of vitriol all the time to staff, spouse, everybody.
Well, and like I said, the more that comes out about this, I think the better off people, and the people have to know at the end of the day. The people have to know. Hey, Tammy, while we have you on the line, we have some good news because I don't know if you follow the Ninth Circuit Court at all in California.
I did. I love the Peruta v. San Diego decision, and you know what?
What?
I had Stephen P. Halbrook. He was my guest last Tuesday on my show, and he is the Second Amendment authority in the nation right now. He's written the Founders' Second Amendment, Origins of the Rights to Bear Arms, and Gun Control in the Third Reich. I interviewed him last Tuesday. I also interviewed him a week ago Wednesday when I was subbing on the Bill Post radio show. And in the Peruta v. San Diego case where they found for the plaintiff and saying that the San Diego carry law to get your license was too restrictive when you had to show cause that you were under threat or something, he was one of the scholars cited. So I emailed him and I said, hey, I just got home in time to hear about this decision and that you were one of the experts and scholars that they cited to win the case. So that was pretty exciting for me.
Yeah, I could see why that would be exciting.
Absolutely. And I want to know when, because now this is decided as a Second Amendment issue, and the Ninth Circuit has ruled on this. And I know there's conflicting case law, so it will go to the Supreme Court most likely. But when that happens, I wonder if there will be forced reciprocity between the states. Because if one state allows a concealed carry, and clearly it's a violation of the Second Amendment to have shows, good cause or whatever. California has a lot of different. Each jurisdiction was allowed to kind of make their own rules for issuance, and the law showed that just cause had to be shown. Well, if that's shot down, which it has been in the Ninth Circuit as a Second Amendment violation, which first of all, the Ninth Circuit, for those of you maybe on the East Coast who don't know, it's very liberal. It's the most overturned court in the nation. But on this one, they got it right, and I actually read their 114-page, whatever it was, decision, and they used actually some very sound logic and historical perspective as well, which I was shocked at.
Two of the judges. So there was a George W.
Three-judge panel.
There was was it Herbert Walker Bush appointee, Reagan appointee, and then the dissent, it was 2-1. The dissent was a Clinton appointee. So that's the way it ruled. It was very interesting.
But still, the fact that the court was even able to come up with a panel to be able to reach this decision was shocking, because they usually don't. The panels are usually, they don't fall that way. In the
and then they have to go to en banc and.
Right, but I'm wondering if if the Supreme Court affirms this, which I believe they will, based upon the Heller decision and so forth, then are all of the states going to have reciprocity? And does the 10th Amendment prohibit a state, or does the 10th Amendment provide the state the ability to issue permits when, in fact, it is a Second Amendment right as being recognized by the courts? The 10th Amendment guarantees the state's right only to do things not prohibited by the Constitution or allowed or specifically allowed. But in this case, if the Second Amendment applies to all individuals on a national level, how can any state issue a permit? Because it is a federal. Well, it is a federal right.
I've always had the belief that when it comes to states issuing, I've always had the belief that it was strictly financial and being able to track guns.
Well, of course it is. But my
That's
question
what
is,
I think too.
Right. If the Supreme Court finds, though, that, hey, it is unconstitutional, does that mean that will the states lose their ability to permit, or will they keep the ability to permit based upon the need for background checks and so forth, which I'm okay with, but will it be forced reciprocity? Will all states or will there be a federal permit?
Well, I don't even think it'll be reciprocity at that point. I think it'll be...
It'd be reciprocity, right? Each state has to recognize another state.
But if it's on a federal level and the federal government says you can't issue permits, then it's not necessarily reciprocity. It just is the federal law of the land.
Then
cannot be restricted.
Then we'd be getting close to what would be a constitutional carry as opposed to a shall issue, may issue, or restriction.
Absolutely. Correct.
And I have a lot of friends that believe in constitutional carry, and I won't ever name them, but some of them in Oregon, some of them in other states, and they say there is no way anybody's going to take away my Second Amendment rights. I don't care what they say. And so I'm telling you, if the gun grabbers tried pushing people too much, because I know a lot of people like that, and they are good law-abiding citizens. And the interesting thing is that in the beginning, when the Bill of Rights was added to the Constitution, all the states that were talking as they were signing this, their thought was that everybody should have the right to carry a gun unless there had been crimes committed by the individual. So if they knew that an individual had committed crimes, they weren't allowed to carry arms. Everybody else, it was expected that they would all be allowed, and it had nothing to do with permits or fees or anything like that. The only thing that curtailed it was if somebody was a known criminal. And that was the person that nobody was going to sell a gun to or that wasn't supposed to carry a gun. And now we've got to this point where, people have to go through all kinds of hoops to get a gun, which, I don't mind the training and things like that, but it's gone too far, I think.
Well, but I think a lot of people would seek that training if they had no knowledge anyhow, because usually legal firearm owners and people that want to own guns have a tendency to want to do it the right way, front to back.
Yeah.
So
most people are responsible, law-abiding citizens in all aspects of their life. So why would owning a gun be any different? It wouldn't change any of that. Now, here's an interesting argument, and one that would spark some real debate. Is so what? Now we know that people who have mental disabilities and physical disabilities, but let's talk about mental disabilities. They have certain rights. ACLU says it all the time, right? They have rights. They have rights. So why would somebody who is not, maybe has some mental illness or defect, they're maybe not a danger to themselves or anybody else, why would they be precluded from owning a firearm just based upon a mental illness or a mental diagnosis?
Well, because you can show just cause that they're a danger to themselves.
Just cause cannot be, Ninth Circuit just ruled, right? You can't use just cause.
No, but you can show that you can line it up with the same.
Does the Fourth Amendment apply to them?
Absolutely, it does.
Does the First Amendment apply to them?
Absolutely.
Then why would the Second not apply to them?
Well, because
and that's my point, and that's I'm not saying one way or another, but I'm saying it's an interesting argument to have.
Oh,
if
I know.
The Fourth Amendment applies
to
people with mental disabilities.
Well,
the
not
First
if they're
Amendment
mentally
applies
competent.
But we're talking about mental disability, right? Or where they need mental treatment. Let's say bipolar or something, which would prohibit somebody on that medication from owning a firearm in some states. So let's say that now that person, why do they not have a right to exercise their Second Amendment? They can exercise their First Amendment rights.
But that curtails. This would almost force the federal government to actually take a serious approach to mental health. And we've talked about this in the past.
Yes, we have.
And I think that this would be something, if this gets affirmed and it starts to go the way that we've just talked about, then now if somebody brings up that argument, it will almost force the hand of the feds to turn around and say, all right, now we can recognize that mental health is a problem and not legal gun owners. Why don't we deal with mental health now? Because that needs to be done.
But how do you deal with that and the gun issue? So how do you deal with mental health if the other amendments apply to them?
Mm-hmm.
Why would the Second Amendment not apply to them? And now you would have to have some sort of constitutional amendment, maybe, or you have to have some form of legislation which can hold constitutional muster to say, hey, if you're a felon or mentally incapable, blah, 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 if you're in an institution or something of that nature.
And it's going to be tough
right?
because you now have to define what's mentally incapable.
Right.
You know, they will put a blanket on that.
Yeah.
Oh, if you've ever talked to your doctor about depression, and they'll know what you've talked to your doctor about because they have the rights through Obamacare.
Yeah.
If you've ever had a bad day, if you've ever taken
But they'll have to force it. But until then, how do you prohibit the nonviolent ones from owning a firearm? They have no history of violence. They have no criminality. Their only quote-unquote crime is that they have some form of mental disease or mental condition.
But even now, we don't know that.
Other amendments apply to them.
But even now, we don't know, though.
Right.
So they could walk in right now. If they're in Arizona or a state that has zero CCW requirement other than the felon, then how do they deal with that there? Because it could happen any time.
It could.
You know what I mean? But like I said, that starts to fall on the people that know these people speaking up. It's, being intelligent. And
I think it sets the stage for an interesting argument.
Oh, it sure as hell does.
An interesting argument, and one that I don't know that I necessarily want to have because I can argue both sides of that issue straight-faced, right?
Well, I could easily be qualified, I'm sure, in the sense of some people. I would easily be qualified as somebody who may not be eligible, but there's no actual there's no record anywhere.
Soko, what did you just throw at me? Soko it's break time.
Yes.
Break time.
I can't hear you, Soko.
It's break.
Hey, do we have a 900 number I don't know about? What's with that voice? Seriously, and you're wearing a licorice thong and high heels?
976 Soko.
I don't understand this.
All right, folks.
What is
347-205-9399 is our phone number.
Soko,
Tammy
put the bubble
J,
machine
tell
away.
Everybody where they can find you. Tammy, did you go away already?
No,
okay,
I'm
good.
here.
Oh, yeah? You went away?
Tell everyone where they can find you, please.
Where they can find me? Oh, okay. Sorry. I'm on. You can find me on Twitter at TAMI J, and it's TAMI J. You can find my website is rightvoicemedia.com. I'm very proud of that site. I'm also the editor-in-chief of theblacksphere.net, and I have a radio show, and I love people to call into my show. It's Tuesday nights on the 405media.com at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern.
Tammy J, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Tammy, very much.
Guys, I'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely.
Take care.
Back at
okay, bye-bye.
You're back.
You're back at 3.
Your mom's back at 3.
Nobody on that one?
Hello, I'm Lori, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Dr. Larry Arnn on how the founders viewed God as the source of our equality and legal rights.
America's founders knew, obviously, that human beings are not equal in terms of strength or beauty, or in terms of intelligence, industry, or talents. They understood that because of such differences in talents and things like that, some people would be wealthier than others. But human beings are equal, the founders believe, in their possession of natural rights, such as the rights to life, liberty, and property. Today, many Americans reject this equality of rights in order to pursue equality of condition through redistribution, or spreading the wealth around, to use a famous formulation. This is destructive of liberty as the founders understood it.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.org.
Hey guys, it's Sean from Sack Heads Radio. I know I've said it before. Check out our friends at conservativeoutcry.net, but I really mean it. If you want interesting and exciting political commentary and analysis, that is the place to get it. Different, always spot on, always truthful, never pulling a punch. conservativeoutcry.net. Tell Rooster to get Bulldog back on and that Sack Heads Radio sent you. And also, coming soon, the Sack Heads Radio Forum on conservativeoutcry.net.
How you doing? John Grant here. When I'm not slaving over a hot microphone on the 405radio.com Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, I check out Sean and Clint here at Sack Heads Radio. We all appreciate the best political bloggers, writers, and commentators. We either get them on our shows or we make fun of them, as it should be. So check us out live Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern or forever on the podcasts on the 405radio.com.
Hi, this is Sarah Marie Brenner. You know, we often talk on the Brenner Brief about the fact that there really needs to be an organization to help people at the local level who are interested in running for things like school boards, city council, and other local offices. Well, I think I finally have the solution for you, at least for you women out there. It's called Politigal Network, Politigal Network.com. Their website's going to be launching mid-August, but they're already on Twitter at PoliticalUSA. I encourage you to follow them and become a member. Their goal is to be the #1 resource for conservative women. So if you love freedom, liberty, the United States of America, and politics, check out PoliticalNetwork.com or Twitter at PoliticalUSA.
Now back to Clint and Sean on Sack Heads Radio, radiating elegancy and quality.
Hey, we're back here on the Sack Heads Radio Show. 347.
Hey, we're back at the Sack Heads Radio Show. Are we playing repeater?
347-205.
347-205-9399.
Anyhow, a decision came out today out in Nebraska.
That we were going to drink Pepsi.
Keystone Pipeline, which, as we all know, is getting ready to go from Canada down to Texas to bring some amazing amount of gallons of oil a day. But Lancaster County, Nebraska Judge Stephanie Stacy invalidated the governor's approval and the state's approval to allow it, saying that it would give TransCanada, who's the company that's developing it, eminent domain powers within the state.
We are opposed to eminent domain.
We are opposed to eminent domain. The brief hadn't been released by the time we went, because I was trying to read the brief on it. But I thought
that was
brief. It never is. I always think that's the best hypocrisy in all of our justice system. We're going to release a brief, 482 pages long.
Right, that's not brief. I wonder if they know what the term brief even means.
Maybe, I don't.
I want to see them release a brief and it's a pair of underwear. It's really a brief.
That would be a riot if Supreme Court did that one day.
If somebody
just released a brief. And it's just a pair of holy underwear.
It was Sotomayor's.
Hey, if you guys get a chance, thanks again to TAMI J for checking in with us tonight. Read her article on theblackspirit.net. That would be outstanding. She's just an amazing person. But, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where this goes. The AG in Nebraska is going to appeal it, appeal the decision higher to the state Supreme Court. And it's that argument of eminent domain or not, you know, and the thing that's coming into question from everything I've read is whether it truly gives TransCanada eminent domain, or if it's...
Well, Judge said it did, so why are you doubting it?
Judges say a lot of things that aren't necessarily true.
Oh, yeah.
So, story out of the FCC world.
Yes, there is. So this I found the story, came up on FoxNews.com. It's FCC basically has a plan that allows researchers into newsrooms.
Oh, good.
And the purpose is they want to, quote, identify and understand the critical information needs of the American public with special emphasis on vulnerable, disadvantaged populations. So what they're worried about is
state media?
Yeah. They're worried about what news stories are being generated and how news stories are selected.
State media?
I don't know. Look, one of the commissioners, Ajit Pai, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, and quite frankly, I don't give a shit, care if I am. But they wrote a Wall Street Journal ad that and says it's going to allow researchers, again, to, quote, grill reporters, editors, and station owners about how they decide which stories to run. Well, that's good, because why wouldn't you want a federal member of the executive branch, this is the FCC.
Oh, yeah.
Why would you not want a federal member of the government asking the media organizations how they select their stories and grilling them? Gosh, if only we had a constitutional amendment that allows the press freedom to run whatever freaking stories they want.
That's number one.
Without, But I mean, if it were written into the Constitution, like as an amendment.
Number one.
No, but you're not listening to what I'm saying. If we had something in law, something in like a Bill of Rights that allowed for us to operate without any kind of federal or government restriction. And if it were going to be, it should be a pretty important one, like something that should be thought of like right away, right? Like put it like at the head, right at the top of something called the Bill of Rights. That's what I would do. All of our listeners are educated, so they understand the irony of what I said.
We're being completely facetious right now.
But people like liberals listening to this, some of you may be like, yeah, I totally agree, they should do that. Yeah. Or no, because you guys make the Clintons look horrible with your guests. So
and I hate to say it, judging from what we've seen on media as of late, or from mainstream media, and how some branches of mainstream media just completely curtail everything to this administration, you know what's going to happen is they're only really going to be heavy into the ones that they disagree with. And it's funny, too. I'd like to see when this is going to be implemented. I'm sure it'll be well before the next set of elections, so some of the information going out about the elections are evenly keeled, quote unquote.
Well, let me hear you. According to this Fox News story, here's what Pi, again, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, and I don't care. Here's what he says. He says, again, according to the FoxNews.com article, he says, quote, participation is voluntary. In theory, the FCC's queries may be hard for the broadcasters to ignore. They would be out of business without an FCC license.
Well, and this brings you right up to the First Amendment. Should it be required that the FCC gives a permit?
Did you see that Twitter name of the person who retweeted us?
Which?
It's down there. It was Anonymous Pussy. Right there. You see it?
I do see that.
First of all, that is the best Twitter name ever in the world for so many different reasons.
But, I mean, should the FCC even have the right? I mean, should they exist? In my opinion, no.
I want to get back to Anonymous Pussy.
No,
I'm having so many thoughts. So what happens if you're like on a Twitter feed and that pops up on your phone and like a girlfriend, wife, whatever sees that? Are you in trouble? That's just rude to have that as a Twitter name, just so you know. That's like us having a Twitter name, Anonymous Dude You Met at a Bar, and having that pop up while your husband, boyfriend, or whatever is watching
Anonymous
your phone and your Twitter.
Door.
Right. I mean, that is just rude.
Hey.
Okay, I'm sorry. What were you saying?
It starts to bring up the question, should the FCC exist? And
they should, to monitor names such as that, to keep people from getting in trouble.
We are not subject per se to FCC rules. I mean, we're subjected to the NSA, but we're not on our current domain because we're not terrestrial radio. We're not.
Right, we're extraterrestrial radio. We're practically alien.
I can understand,
but not of the criminal variety.
The military controlling certain signal lengths so they can operate within them, because that's all really the FCC was supposed to be for originally. Anyhow, is to make sure that radio stations were operating between this frequency and that frequency, that
that's their purpose, though, right?
Right. But then they got into decency and all that stuff, and now they're going to be deciding what can be said and what not in a newsroom. And it's that growing government. If you look at like everything else in government,
you know what's going to happen? This is my prediction. You know what's going to happen? And this is why the FCC wanted control of the internet. Because you'll have them come off the airwaves, and they'll just go Internet-based.
Yeah.
We are the wave of the future, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to it right here.
And there's a bunch of, we're tuning our own horn a little bit. But
when Fox News is under the umbrella of Sack Heads Radio, just know that you heard it here first.
But there's a lot of new media, and this is why new media is starting to become a huge focus for the federal government. You heard Obama throwing slams out there, and mainstream media constantly talks against bloggers, internet podcasters, those independent, if you will, media, those of us like the Exceptional Conservative Show, Outcry Radio, Tammy Jackson, Reactionary Speak, RFP with Kel and Tim. I could keep going on and on and on.
Please don't.
But you have some amazing people out there here, Alt Call Radio, Red State Radio, all these different online that really, a lot of it's great stuff, and it gets kind of dumped in the headlines because, A, we're a threat to mainstream media and their money is what it comes to, and not just us, but, I mean, new media in general. It's taking their listenerships away, pardon, so it's taking money away from them. So they want to crush us as much as they can. The federal government doesn't like it because we're not over the FCC, and they can't control the Internet, so they can't control what comes out of our mouths and how it comes out of our mouths.
You know what? I want to know how the Obama this administration has a multifaceted attack being conducted against the constitutional liberties of the American way of life, of the way we live, right? They have an ongoing attack apparently on the First Amendment, and they've had spats with the media before, right? They have power plays and an attack going on against the Constitution based upon executive overreach and how he's trying to just run through and circumvent Congress because he has his little, his pen in his phone or whatever. You look at his little pen in his little phone.
That's such a weak statement.
It is.
I have a pen and a phone. Yeah, me too, dude.
Yeah.
You know what? I have two phones. I have a work phone and a home phone. I have a Sharpie. I have a highlighter. A couple pens.
I have a number 2 pencil.
And a mechanical pencil.
I have a 7mm mechanical pencil.
Oh,
I have a 0.5. Come on.
Who says that? I have a pen, and I also have a phone.
Well, I have a keyboard and a teletype. I mean, I don't...
I have hieroglyphics and a carrier pigeon. What is this, like a one-upmanship? Like... Right. I have a pager and your wallet, Ken says. I was wondering. I told you not to let Ken in here. He took my wallet.
And he took my pager.
The fact that you still have a pager is boss, by the way.
Which is ridiculous. Well, I don't anymore. Ken took it. What's ridiculous is that's what he took. Really, Ken? Of everything you're going to take of mine, it's a pager?
He ran out yelling.
He ran out screaming, bitching.
You know what? I want to bring back pagers. That's neither here nor there. But
I want to bring back parachute pants.
The reach keeps going and going and going. And the FCC is horrible for freedom of press and free speech.
You know what? Since you just said keeps going, that reach keeps going and going. Do you remember Elastic Man?
Yes.
Was he one of the Fantastic Four? We should do a character of Obama as Elastic Man, but like not Elastic Man because we don't want to be sued by Marvel, but like stretching out and continuing to overreach everything. Soko, get on that.
No, but it's true. And he, as you see, and it's him, Valerie Jarrett, the Democrats in general. You start looking at what they're extending into with the EPA changing state lines, putting state media monitors, if you will, in newsrooms, executive actions for everything, water tax. This administration is going out of control with this.
It's been out of control.
But this is almost in your face. Why is that not on the front page of every newspaper?
Incrementally, the fact that they've been incrementally encroaching the progressive movement has incrementally encroached for the last 100 plus years.
Right.
And anybody who wants to study the Woodrow Wilson administration, please. But now you have a specific administration that has encroached and is rapidly accelerating this trend because nobody says anything. And if anybody says anything, they're extremists. They're crazy. It's for public safety. It's for your own good.
I hate to say it, but
we know better.
At the last time a maniacal leader that was a control freak ostracized a certain group because he thought that would be the biggest threat to his power. And I forget, I think it happened like 1939 or somewhere in Europe.
Somewhere right around there.
Somewhere in Europe, right. And it comes back.
But he was doing it for the common good. He was doing it for the good of mankind, right? So, look, we already touched on that earlier, but I'm at a loss.
Yeah,
because nobody has said anything, and
this is huge.
It's allowed, and again they like to marginalize, right? They're extremists. Look at the Tea Party. Look at what the Tea Party really believes, and you have groups within the Tea Party that don't agree.
Right,
you do, but look how the Tea Party is painted, and really this happened after the midterm elections of 2010, when what the progressives and the liberals really realized, oh my gosh, this could actually be a threat to the way we do things in this country and could start to kind of turn this ship around. You start seeing them labeled as, from conservatives, they start being labeled as extremists. That's where you get teabaggers. The President of the United States, teabagger, a very offensive term because it references a scrotum being placed on somebody's
Roman helmet.
Right. Face or mouth or whatever, and I'm not being gross, but that's what it's referencing. So you have the President of the United States saying teabaggers and waving tea bags and this sort of thing, and start
any leader of it doesn't
right, and start labeling this group as extremists, because what was being what did the word extremist mean up to at that
terrorism.
Time? After 9/11, you had extremists meaning terrorists.
Yep.
So now after the midterm elections of 2010, you have this administration and subsequently the media start labeling the Tea Party groups as extremists. And now what do people hear? The general American public who's not paying attention, who is not politically active, who doesn't understand what the Tea Party movement is, who doesn't understand what progressivism is, who doesn't understand natural law, who doesn't understand the founding principles of our country, they start hearing this mantra, extremists, 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 and you have an association drawn to people who are dangerous to our way of life, i.e. terrorists. And you don't have people that understand what the movement is or what it represents. Because if you start talking to somebody, and I'm talking very intelligent people, right? You talk to them about politics. And, hey, this is what I believe. I believe in limited government. I believe in individual liberty. I believe in our constitutional principles. Wow, yeah, you're a conservative. At least you're not a Tea Partier. And then when you say, whoa, but let's look at what the Tea Party is, it kind of opens their eyes. And again, these are people that are very intelligent people, you know.
Right.
But there's just been this mantra that has been kind of drowned over and over again about extremists. Now you have this negative connotation associated. You look at Tea Party rallies and the aftermath of those rallies and how clean the National Mall was when you had the Tea Party rally on the National Mall versus the Million Man March or versus the Occupy movement and the crimes that are committed there and the state of disrepair and the mess that they leave behind in the places that they
I
occupy.
really think the Occupy movement is the best counter argument to the Tea Party.
It is.
And when you're trying to prove
Bizarro Tea Party.
Good from bad.
Right? It's like Bizarro Superman.
Yeah,
Bizarro
exactly.
Tea Party.
It is the absolute antithesis of what
That's
the Tea
a big
Party,
word.
Thank you very much.
You
of
pretty
what
much
the Tea
nailed
Party
that.
is. And people, I mean, you had Pelosi. It's a grassroots movement. It's beautiful. These people are just young and free, and they're mad. You have the president defending them. All these left-wing leaders come out defending them. Oh, this is great. This is democracy at its finest.
We're not a democracy.
Exactly. But even still, they're supporting and put them up. Well, what about all the rapes and drug use and wasn't it
defecating on law enforcement vehicles?
Well, and what about maybe trying to blow up the bridge in Cleveland and stuff like that?
That wasn't happening. Those were
but
not
then
those were people who were frustrated.
Those were the anarchists.
Those
then all of a sudden they started to become the anarchists.
No, those are people who are frustrated with the 1%.
Right. They will do whatever they can. Tea Party is a group of people that have a small government mentality, individual liberty, stay the hell out of my home, fiscally responsive.
Their symbol is the Gadsden flag. It's a symbol from the revolution. Don't tread on me. the 13 colonies, individual liberties. That's the symbol. It's not we hate government.
Right.
It's we hate the British.
Right. We are in charge of
anymore.
government, not you. It's not the other way around.
Exactly. So the Tea Party loves the American system, the American ideal, the
true American
republic.
ideal.
Right. It's not an anti-government movement. So, look, I challenge liberals, Democrats, even conservatives who maybe think the Tea Party is too extreme. I challenge you to take a look at the Tea Party principles and what they believe in. I don't expect you to agree with everything of anybody, Republicans, Democrats, Tea Party. I expect you to be an independent thinker.
Right.
I expect you to excel at critical thinking, because that's what's going to save this country. But I challenge you to look at what the Tea Party really stands for, and stop listening to third-party writings about it. Go to the source, which is something that's kind of been a theme here of ours for the last year and a half or so since we started, and see how much of it you truly agree with and truly disagree with, and then why you either agree or disagree. And I bet you would be surprised at how much you actually agree with.
Well, and like you said, you had a friend that you had this conversation with not too long ago.
Right.
And as it turned out, they were more aligned with conservatives.
Yeah. Well, yeah. They're a Tea Party member. They just don't know it, and it's going to be known to them very quickly. No, but you know, we meet people, and we have they're intelligent people. We have intelligent conversations, and yeah, you're right. There's a friend of mine that I've had this conversation with, and it's again very, very educated, a very smart person, and we have good conversations. But it's something that has been in my mind lately, and you and I have talked about this before also. Yeah. You're typing me a note right now.
Isn't that amazing?
And it looks like a Post-it note, but it's on a computer screen, and you're giving me a high sign. And let's just do hand signals. Tell me to steal third.
Steal third, my friend.
Okay, you nailed it.
So why don't we do this? You think we could squeeze an extra 10 after? We'll play
take a break. Let's go through.
You want to just go straight through?
Yeah.
All right, because we have two.
People love us.
We have two friends of ours that we haven't talked to in a really long time, and I want to talk to them real quick.
Okay.
And you know what? We're going to say, for the folks listening, if you're listening online and the show's going to end, we're going to do OT, so you can jump on 347-205-9399 and keep listening. We're not going to be too much longer, but we have two good friends that we want to say hi to that we haven't had a chance to for a while. So, coming up first,
without further ado,
and I know I'm going to get crap for this as soon as Ken gets on the air, but
red, white, and blue, that's a joke, son. A flag waver.
And the reason I took Rooster first is
because Ken's black.
No, I knew it was coming.
I knew
Rooster was on hold.
That's
first.
what you just told me. You wrote it down on the Post-it note I just talked about.
I'm screenshotting and tweeting that as we speak.
Go for it, because real good. You typed a new one.
Hey, Rooster, how are you, buddy?
My handler says that I'm only allowed to exchange pleasantries with you.
Good evening, Rooster.
But
Rooster,
then
what do you
he
think
met
about
Maggie
U.S.-Russia
Maggie
hockey match?
doesn't like the FCC.
Why?
So I sent him back. Although I do have his communication device, and he's no longer wearing pants, and his Glock has been unloaded.
What? Did you say Glock, G-L? Or was
yes.
that a C did that start with? Okay, I didn't know because it's Rooster. I had to ask. He's not wearing pants and his Glock is unloaded.
And
what would you
he's
think
been
he
branded.
said?
He's been branded.
Hey, Rooster, I didn't want to go tonight without being able to at least just pop in and say hi with you and check you out and see how you're doing, my friend, because we haven't talked. I know the boy had a great hockey game last week, and you were proud dad on Twitter.
I sent you a picture on Twitter. Did you get it?
I haven't opened it up yet. I saw it. I just haven't opened it.
It's a beautiful pic.
It is. You must be great.
They're going to the state semifinals. I don't know if I told you that or not.
Wow.
You did?
It's been 15 years for this high school, and it happens when the two freshmen come on board. So I'm not saying anything, but
you're not saying it is him, but you're certainly not saying it's not.
Right.
Exactly.
What do you got coming up Saturday night?
I don't know yet. It just
I
comes
love
to
that
me.
about you.
Actually, every week we've been talking about conservative messaging and the problems that I have with not necessarily the message, but how they present it to the people. Mm-hmm. So I think we're going to carry on with that. I don't know if you caught the last show or not, but
I did. I think that's a great topic, and you actually did a great job last show. I think, and we talked about it a little bit tonight, actually, just a few minutes ago, about getting the Tea Party message out. And when people actually hear the true message, they kind of relate closer to it. Where they're like, oh, no, you know what? That is what I believe in. But what about all this crap that the mainstream media is throwing at us? Well, that's BS. But I agree that the conservatives as a whole do a horrible job of PR and getting their true message out. And they end up getting caught up in the quagmire of social issues and that one wrong statement that they try to walk back a million times and look stupid instead of sticking with where their power is and sticking with the honesty. And you know what? When you make a mistake, you own it. It's not a big deal. But they make it a big deal. And that's their biggest fault, I think, is their PR.
You just did my whole show in 2 minutes. But actually, I opened the show, and I'll say this to Clint, and then you guys can go on to Ken. I opened the show with a statement to Tea Party members. And if you are a member of the Tea Party that claim to be a Ronald Reagan conservative, the vitriol that we have in government now, and not only on the left but on the right as well, Ronald Reagan would not approve.
Oh no,
not at all.
Not at all.
Ronald Reagan never did any of the things that you hear today, and it's worse today than it's ever been. Hell, he had he was good friends with Tip O'Neill. Mm-hmm. You don't have that anymore.
Well, and one of the I think one of the that's a great point, because one of the beautiful things about that is they had the ability to disagree politically and respect each other as men. And
that's an excellent way to put it.
Yeah. And still
really
say, this doesn't make him a bad person per se. You know what? There's a mutual respect. Our goal is still to make the country better one way or the other. And we're doing it from different sides of the field, but that doesn't mean that it's bad.
And the reason you said field is because it was so long ago there were no aisles. Everything was debated in an amphitheater. So it was literally from different sides of the field, for those of you that don't know history.
But that message that has to get out, it has to get out to the I call them the misinformed or the uninformed. It's the people that see someone like when John Boehner came out last week and said, we're not going to discuss immigration at all because we can't trust the president. If I'm one of the misinformed, all I hear is we're not going to do our job.
Yes, I agree with what you said. I don't agree with what Boehner said. I agree with Boehner's message in the sense of when I believe that the middle of it, or the main part of it, was essentially he hasn't shown us any reason that he's willing to negotiate. Why should we even get into this argument?
What I want to know is why we're violating sackhead policy and law and calling him Boehner instead of Boner.
My fault. I will be lashed for that. Okay, good.
Well,
so,
what I want to know is why he doesn't even vote, and then has the gall to stand up and talk about the president who votes president.
I couldn't agree with you more about that. I think Boner is just that, a boner. And he's horrible, and he shouldn't be there. But as his speech went last week, as the speaker, I felt that if you were an informed voter, if you paid attention, if you were up and knew what was going on, you would understand what the actual message was there. However, like you said, in the world of sound bites and quick thinking or drive-by media, whatever you want to call it, it's a horrible message.
Hey, Rooster, real quick, because I know we got to get going to Ken, but what did you happen to catch the U.S. Russia hockey match?
It was outstanding.
How awesome is it? How awesome is it that the head coach for Russia was a member of the 1980 Russia team?
It was icing on the cake.
Yeah.
What I really would have wanted.
That's a hockey thing.
What I really wanted to see. I wanted to see a picture of Putin at the end of that game, but they didn't do it.
Well,
because
NBC loves them. That's why.
Yeah, he was in attendance.
Well, and it's funny because there are a lot of people in Russia, a lot of Russian media saying that NBC paid off the refs so they got higher ratings, which I think is a riot. But Putin actually released it. Yeah, I know. It makes no sense at all.
And the refs were technically correct because a goal does not count in international play if the net has been moved at all.
It's
correct?
Dislodged. Yeah.
And the net did dislodge. So it was technically the correct call. I'm not a big hockey guy, but am I right with that, Rooster?
You are right with that, but what you need to see is who dislodged the net.
The
goalie did.
So if the goalie dislodges
the net.
Well, if the goalie dislodges the net, then it should have counted.
If it was intentional, and now it becomes an opinion. If it's intentional, then it's a stopping and play. I mean, and he could. I think he can get a penalty in international, right?
Yeah, it's a 2-minute penalty. Yeah, it's a 2-minute.
Yeah, delay a game, and I think that would have given them an extra shooter. They would have skipped. I forget how it's done in international, but the simple fact of the matter is at the end of the day. It was a great game to watch. If you're a hockey fan, it was actually
It was a great game to watch if you're not a hockey fan.
Yeah, it was awesome. But even Putin came out afterwards and pretty much said something like it's a game of inches. You know, you're two really good teams. And then he made a vague statement, and I don't remember
like
the exact
threat?
quote. Oh, yeah. About how, if next time things will be a little bit clearer, or I disagree with. He made a threat where if those referees went missing, I would not be shocked.
Now, does the U.S. play Russia again?
No, Russia lost today.
Russia lost today.
Wow, so Russia's done.
Russia's completely done. The only way they could have made it was out of the losers bracket.
They were expected to get gold, if I'm correct.
Yeah, and right now, they were one of the favorites.
You've got Sweden, you got Russia, you got Canada, you got the United States.
They were expected to medal, though, were they not?
Yeah,
they were expected to medal.
But all of those teams have a legitimate expectation to medal. They're all filled with NHL players.
Well, and the thing that's different now from the 80s, when it was the USSR, they had all those small countries that were part of that they could pull their players from, whereas now they have a smaller branch. And then, like if it was the USSR right now, they'd have Zdeno Chara playing for them. They'd have a lot of other guys who went to their home countries to play and represent. And that's a big difference. Their pool is a lot smaller.
I think the biggest difference between now and the 80s is in the 80s we didn't allow NHL players on our team. They were all college players.
Right.
Playing against
pros.
Yeah,
no, absolutely. It was totally different. But it was great. I can't wait to see what happens. It's going to be interesting to see who's going to win.
You almost said Hooten.
Hooten
would have been great.
Hooten's going to win. So
with
hey,
Russia
Rooster.
out, I think the United States will medal.
I think they will.
I don't know where.
I fear Canada as an American hockey team fan. I fear Canada.
Oh, I fear Canada militarily, but that's a different story.
And Sweden, I'll tell you, Sweden's played like I've never seen Sweden play. They're so much more physical. I don't know if you remember 4 years ago, last couple of years, but they used to have that wide open Sweden style of hockey where they didn't really hit. It was all dump, chase, and speed, and they're much chippier this year, and I wonder if they can stand up with Canada as a result.
Well, they've got Lundqvist in net. Anybody can stand up with him in net. So,
yeah, they're anchored really well. Hey, Rooster from Outcry Radio, 11 o'clock on Saturday nights here on Blog Talk Radio, and check his blog out, conservativeoutcry.net. Rooster, thank you so much, sir.
Hey, keep me on air so I can listen.
You got it, buddy.
Right. Thank you.
It's always nice to catch up and have good. I don't get to have good hockey conversation a lot anymore, being on this coast, because you don't know hockey. None of my friends out here know hockey. So I get excited a little bit when I can actually talk a little bit of hockey. But you know what else excites me? Baseball.
Hey, boys, look what I got here. Hey, where are the white women at? Ain't nobody got time for that.
Every single time, I still laugh. My good friend Ken from the Exceptional Conservative Show. Sir, how are you?
Well, I'm doing very well on the back of this bus. I'm enjoying myself. No need to put the windows down. The heat's just fine here in Atlanta.
Hey, Ken, I apologize, and just so you know, I asked Sean to get you in first because we believe in affirmative action here. But
you know, saying white people, no. Boy, I tell you, the man is trying to keep a brother down.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what he said.
And you know why, Ken? You know why? Because we're petrified.
Why, Clint? Well, I'm sorry,
no,
right,
this is Sean.
Why?
Because we're petrified. I'm just saying right now.
Yeah, even
when I picked up your call, Clint actually crossed to the other side of the sidewalk. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
Listen, when we picked up your call, Sean stuffed his wallet back inside his pocket and held on to it. And I looked at him and I said, he's on the phone. He's on the phone. And he said, yeah, but black people are tricky. That's what he said to me, Ken.
You know, actually, I was concerned that both of you all, when I wrote in the chat room about the pager and the wallet, actually stopped the show for a moment. I heard the brief break just to check.
Yeah, everybody checked. Soko doesn't even know what a pager is, and he says, hey, I'm pretty sure mine's missing.
Oh, my
Lord. Where is that?
Oh, so, hey, Ken, what do you think so far, 2014 so far, politics, strictly politics?
Whoa, Sean, whoa. Hockey question for Rooster, no hockey question for me.
I was going to get to figure skating
Clint,
with you.
Was that racially planned? Okay.
Of course it was racially planned.
Wait.
Hey, hold on. Stop for a second. No. You said I'm not going to talk hockey with Ken because black people don't know hockey. That's what you said at the break.
Ken, I have it right here in my notes. I have Lolo Jones, bobsled, Ken.
I'm telling you, there is probably a courthouse in question regarding DNA right now on that Lolo thing. Hey.
But for the record, I now love bobsledding all of a sudden. I was never a huge fan before, but now I love women's bobsledding. I think it's amazing. Watching them run down that track, and it shows you the power. I just think it's such an amazingly competitive sport. I watch it on replay.
Over and over again.
Is she not amazing?
She is. You know, that's real.
Oh my God,
that's a real good conversation to have with a liberal woman. And she doesn't understand exactly what you're saying. You understand exactly what you're saying. And she's like, "Oh, he is so sensitive."
Well, yeah. Oh man. What now I know you're a lifelong figure skater. What is the most impressive figure skating feat so far this year in the Olympics, Ken?
Well, this is very personal. I have been working on this for a very long time period. Listen, JJ and I, when we got to the rink, I just said, JJ, and he said, what Jingles? And I said, JJ. He said, Jingles? Why don't you just tell me? And so I said, okay, I must do the triple axel with the ankle kick.
Hey, so what I want to know is because you know a lot about figure skating, I watched that documentary on figure skating, Blades of Glory. That was a great movie. Have you attempted that? Did you attempt that move? Yeah.
Clint, when you said all I could think about is the Pee Wee Herman and the little theater. I'm sorry. I apologize.
It's Olympic coverage right here, folks, on the Sack Heads Radio Show. Overtime. just checking it out, Ken. I think you and Clint need to do a bobsled like Al and Matt did on NBC, that 2-man luge thing.
Right.
I think you two would be perfect for that.
We have to do 3 men. We have to do 3 men, and Bob Costas is the lead.
Hey, however men you decide to do is up to you, and that's a completely different story. But I think Ken, you and I could do a duo's skate, much like Will Ferrell did in
Bill Head.
Glory.
That would be outstanding.
Yeah.
I'd be so proud of you guys.
We could totally do that.
Hey,
we should practice in the summer. It's really rough going down the slide.
Well, if you weren't wearing shorty shorts, I have slippy shorts. Those are not the best. Hey, I can't even get close to a serious topic anymore.
Are we going to do that Panchenko twist?
Yeah, the Panchenko twist.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I love the fact that we're amusing us and annoying everybody else who's listening right now.
Wow. Hey, and this, somehow around the world, someone's listening to this saying, hey, that's funny.
Right now across the world, somebody is Googling ice skating documentary Blades of Glory.
Be careful about the one who's Googling Pee Wee Herman. Hey. Put the popcorn down, guy.
Yeah, popcorn down. Ken, we talked about it earlier.
Soko, I'm very proud of you. You putting up with these guys. You're doing a great job. Your immigration papers have moved up a little further on the pile, okay? So keep it up.
Thank you so much. I was looking for those.
Hey, nobody can hear you, Soko. Sit back down.
All right, I'm going back to my cave.
Watch that kid. I'm telling you.
976 Soko.
976
Soko.
Soko. We talked about it earlier, Ken. The Keystone Pipeline.
When I come home from a long day with Sack Heads Radio.
I like to dial me up some 976 Soko.
Who wants some Soko taco? You want some Soko taco?
I try to call when Blades of Glory is on.
Who wants a body massage?
Soko. Massage your bum.
This is Sack Heads Radio.
Shaft calling.
It's Ken. He's been on for like 10 minutes.
Oh my gosh. Is it Ken?
You know, actually, this would be a great fundraiser for Hillary if it was a cankle massage. We could really raise money. Anyone can massage her. That'd be perfect. Rub them cankles, Bill.
Make her move. If you make Hillary move by massaging the cankles, you win $500.
Are there any takers?
I wouldn't do that myself.
No takers? Okay, no takers.
Soko's saying something. You just can't hear it because his voice is gone.
Soko's on it. I hate to say it, but what we make Soko do, that would not be shocking to me if that was a real thing, if we wouldn't pool together the money just to go send Soko to do it and take pictures.
I dare Joe Biden.
How much, Soko? How much? I hear she's a cougar.
Hey, you have to massage. You have to massage the cankles and suck the corn on her toes until gravy. I'm just throwing it out. Done.
Done. That just ended it right there. We can't even go beyond that. Listen, poor Soko.
swear, I wasn't even thinking about Sarah. You look just like her.
Ken, I honestly wanted to get your reaction to the Keystone Pipeline ruling.
Well, what I find amazing is that this administration would send its Secretary of State out to speak on the most valuable moment or concern for the nation, and that it's global warming. With that said, California is droughted and dry, and most of America is under 2 feet of snow. So apparently, global warming is a major concern for Americans. And the sad thing is, energy independence just isn't up there apparently. So, fire Kerry if you can.
Well, I think that's funny too. It was amazing that he had Kerry make that comment, and then he made that trip to Fresno to talk about how it's important. And now all of a sudden this Keystone ruling, I'm not a big believer in coincidence too many times, but do you think that they're going to do everything they can, the administration, to find a reason to chop down the Keystone as much as they can?
Keystone has as much of an opportunity as Al Sharpton going out with Miss America. It's just not going to happen.
Oh, man. Can you imagine the look on all of our faces if all of a sudden Sharpton does step out with Miss America? Like,
No, actually, I would not be shocked if Al Sharpton would be the one holding on to the cankles for $2 million. That'll take care of the IRS bill, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah, seriously. He'd be all caught up and then some.
Wait a minute. Oh, my goodness.
I could left all night. I really could.
Left behind with Kinkles. All right.
We got to end the show, but I wanted to get a chance to say hi. We haven't talked in a while, our friend. You're just such a great friend of ours that I didn't want to go without saying hello and wishing you well. And you always have a place with us like we do with you. So you Rooster.
We'll see you at CPAC.
Hey, we wish. We hope so.
You're not coming?
Yeah. We're not invited. We're not. They kicked us out again.
We talk too much crap about everybody.
I can't believe it. Listen,
everybody.
JJ and I just had dinner with Boehner, and he said he was going to make it happen.
No. He was talking about getting a sack on his head. He wasn't talking about our show.
Boner again?
Yeah, Boner.
We'll
talk to you off air about. We'll talk to you off air about the CPAC details. How's that?
Good night,
Ken,
love y'all. God bless.
Hey, Ken, can you hang on the line for us while we end the show?
Sure.
We'll talk to you off air.
All right.
We're not going to be back. The show's over.
No, we're done.
We're done.
We're done.
Play
We'll
the
see you
music.
next Wednesday night.
Soko, play the music.
8 o'clock. Hold on.
No, play the music.
Check us out, Facebook.com/SackheadsRadio, at Twitter @Sackheads.
We need an Instagram.
www.sackheadsradio.com.
We need an Instagram account.
It goes on Twitter. It doesn't matter.
But we need an Instagram.
No,
anyways.
we don't.
I don't even know what Instagram
For
is.
Sackhead Clint
cool.
and Sackhead Soko.
I am Sackhead Clint.
This is Sackhead Sean. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Thank you for our guests and our callers. We will see you next week.
I will see you tomorrow.
I like to eat tacos.
So no ending theme? No ending theme at all?
No. Good night, guys. Sorry about the voice.
I can't hear you.
Oh my
Soko?
God.
Soko?
Every night.
Where's Soko?
You're killing me.
I see him trying to talk, but he's not saying it.